What's going on, everyone? Welcome to the Pizza Buffet live here on the Forward Progress YouTube channel, part of the Hammer Betting Network and powered by Pinnacle Sportsbook. I am Rob Pizzola. I'm here with you for the next hour or so, breaking down today's NFL sides and totals. I'm going to try not to get too distracted with what's going on in front of me here. The Frankfurt game between the Patriots and Colts, 7-3 at the half, and try to keep this as forward-looking as possible. Appreciate everyone who's already in here in the chat, getting things going early this morning. Really quickly, if you haven't already, on the way in, smash that like button down below. Helps people find my content in real time. And of course, if you're not subscribed here on Forward Progress, make sure that you do. Just really quickly, guys, because Anthony's having some sound issues in here, just make sure, give me a thumbs up in the chat if the sound is working. Looks like everything's all right on my end, but I just want to make sure before I go into it a little bit deeper. As a reminder, I know a lot of people in here come in on Sunday morning looking to get some advice on their last minute bets, whatever. I get it. I want to remind people and make it explicitly clear that I don't have an edge at this time. It's very likely that you don't have an edge either at this time. Why do I say that? Well, the sharpest sportsbooks in the world, including Pinnacle, taking $100,000 on sides right now in the NFL. Ask yourself, why would a sportsbook take $100,000 on sides? Well, they're very confident in their number on the game across the board. So be aware of that. We put out a lot of content here on Forward Progress over the course of the week, earlier in the week, including Wednesday Best Bets, where we talk about a bunch of games. Make sure you're subbed to the channel. Get some opinions earlier in the week. At this point, I'm flipping coins. I will go through every game, rotation number order, top to bottom. But once again, just be aware that as a general practice, I would highly recommend betting earlier in the week. And of course, as always, please play responsibly. Last thing I'll ask before I get into the games here. Please do me a favor. Click that share button down below on YouTube as well. Get this out to the masses, whether that's on your Twitter feed, whatever you want to do. Let's get it out. Help other people find the content. I'm sure there's other people out there this morning who will be putting out content claiming that they have their 10-star lock of the millennium or whatever. I'm going to be real with the audience and be real with everyone here. I do very well betting the NFL, but I would be insane to be betting all of my NFL games on a Sunday morning. So don't do that. As a general reminder, if you're going to go out and bet on Sundays, make sure you're line shopping. It's one of the most critical aspects of sports betting. I'd never consider betting or line shopping without Pinnacle being one of my sportsbook accounts because of their everyday competitive odds. So make sure you bet smart, bet Pinnacle, your trusted sportsbook for the past 25 years, and use code HAMMER when signing up, as it does help support the show. You must be 19 plus, not available in the US. And as always, like I said, please play responsibly. Let's get right into it here. Bring up betstamp on screen. Of course, if you're not familiar with betstamp, it's an easy way to compare multiple sports books, get the best odds. I'd highly recommend using it. Saves you a lot of time, saves you money. So check out Betstamp as well. You can download the app today or visit the website, betstamp.app. Browns and Ravens, our first game on the board today. Markets moved out to 6.5 across the board. Pretty much every sports book, at least in the Ontario regulated market, is showing a 6.5 here. Total at 38. Interesting handicap here. I've seen a lot of, I guess this will be a common theme today, of activity on both sides of this game. And that goes for a lot. I've seen a lot of general disagreement. Got to start with the injury situation for the Browns. You already have Jack Conklin on IR for the year. Now their left tackle, Jedrick Wills, goes on IR with an MCL injury. DeJuan Jones, the replacement right tackle, is out with a knee injury. Going to be a makeshift offensive line. Couple injuries to keep an eye on here, which we haven't seen one way or another, whether players have been declared in or out. But Greg Newsome, questionable tag for the Cleveland defense. Marlon Humphrey for the Ravens defense. Going to try to power through with this cough today. Some people pointing to like the previous Cleveland-Baltimore game this year. I don't know why. 28-3, Ravens win that. Dorian Thompson-Robinson at quarterback for Cleveland. Maybe because you're looking at the Baltimore offensive output. It was 296 net yards of offense in that game, 5.4 yards per play, 41% success rate. It's like standard average stuff. A little bit worse than what Baltimore's average over the course of the season, but they didn't have to do much in that game. Now, one thing about Lamar Jackson is he's been bad against man coverage so far this year. Cleveland plays a very high rate of man, the highest in the league. If you look at Lamar Jackson's EPA per play numbers against man coverage, it's a 0 EPA per play. The only quarterbacks worse, Kenny Pickett, Zach Wilson, Mac Jones, who I'm watching right now, Geno Smith, Jordan Love. For context, Lamar's top 10 in EPA per play against zone. So maybe a stylistic matchup there. However, with that said, Lamar has been very good at evading pressure for the most part this year. We know Cleveland gets after the quarterback. We look at PFF grades. Number one rated QB under pressure is Lamar Jackson, 81.9. He's been pressured on 34% of his dropbacks. He's got just 3 turnover-worthy plays and a 10.0 yards per attempt when under pressure. So, all that put together, I'd expect like an average offensive output from the Ravens today. You want to bet on an average offensive output to win by a touchdown? It's a little bit scary. But then again, on the other side of the ball, you have Deshaun Watson, who's really struggled, does not look anywhere close to the same quarterback before. Arm is just not there. Ravens not giving up, explosive stuff down the field. I just don't see a great path to success for the Cleveland offense here. I think this is a fair price. I don't honestly know what I would do at this number. I know Hitman on the Best Bet show earlier this week went Baltimore. I personally think where we are here, where the market is settled, it's right in and around the area where you're probably not finding a valuable position in this game. My own personal opinion. Again, I've seen split on this game, but that's where I stand right now. Going to try to get through this today. Woke up with a nasty cough. It's that time of year. Should have put something other than coffee in the mug today. Something a little stronger. All right. Game number 2, Bengals and Texans. Market settling here around 5.5. Coming off of 6. Substantial move, substantial money this morning. Total down to 46.5. Jamar Chase expected to play as of now. Expected to play. What that means in terms of snap count, whatever, we have no idea. But as of now, that's the report. The other side of the ball, Houston actually has a pretty terrible injury report. They do get Derek Stingley back. They're going to be ramping him back up. Doubt you're going to see 100% of snap count there. But they do have a lot of other injuries in the secondary. The offensive line, still down several players. Nico Collins out. Robert Woods banged up. Dameon Pierce out. Backup tight end Brevin Jordan. If you saw the Houston injury report this week, it was a mile long. Now, some people say insane movement, as does Chosen Sports. Very well could be the case. I'm very impressed with CJ Stroud. I mentioned this earlier this week, but 51% of his throws have been past the sticks. He's put together a great EPA per dropback, great success rate. He's not turning the ball over. You have a quarterback who's stretching the field vertically and putting up great numbers and not turning it over. And on top of that, by my metrics, they've played the 3rd toughest schedule of opposing defenses in terms of success rate and EPA. Ravens, Jags, Steelers, Falcons, who have good season-long numbers that will probably dip over time, Saints. Last week, way more throwing in neutral game state, which was huge for them. 39-point output against Tampa Bay. We talked week in and week out about how Houston really struggles because of all this early down running. Well, they got away from it a little bit more last week. If you look at neutral game state last week, CJ Stroud passed 67% of the time. I like this offense. Now, one thing that's a little bit sneaky with the Cincinnati defense is they've actually been generating a lot of pressure, especially recently. First 4 games of the year, they struggled. Since then, they've pressured quarterbacks at the 3rd highest rate in the NFL, 43% of dropbacks. The one thing I will say about Stroud, and this is not particular to him, this is most quarterbacks in the league, but you pressure a guy, he's going to be worse. Now, if we look at CJ Stroud's yards per attempt under pressure this season, 5.1 yards per attempt. When he has a clean pocket, 9.3. It's substantial. So to me, this comes down to whether or not Cincinnati can get pressure consistently. Sam Hubbard out this week. Not your biggest pressure guy, but a starter on the defensive line, 29 total pressures this year. That matters. And that could be impactful in the sense that they do not have a lot of depth on the D-line, generally speaking. Whether or not Jamar Chase is healthy, I still think Joe Burrow is probably going to have a game. Texans pass defense, even with Stingley back, is not very good. Burrow has 4 straight games now where he's had a success rate of 55% or more. This isn't against all scrubs either. Remember, Seattle's defense, San Fran's defense. There was 4 times last year where Jamar Chase was out, was not on the field. I went through all 4 of those games for the Bengals, and it's a small sample, but Burrow was fine in every single one of those. He had 1 2-interception game. He also threw 4 touchdowns in that game. At this point, I would be more inclined to bet Cincy at the price. I get the market move. I totally do. I don't think I'm going to do anything with this. But now that it's off 6, you definitely missed the boat on Houston at this point. So I'd say Cincy or nothing at current market price, but currently a pass. One of the games of the day is the 49ers and the Jags. Market in this -3, -114 range at Pinnacle. Some books out to -3, -120. Total's been bet down to 44.5. I'm very much looking forward to this game from a pure, just football side of things. I think the numbers in this game are fine. I promise there's going to be some things I disagree with the market on as we go on over the course of today. But this number to me is fine. Juice 3 on San Fran. Trent Williams expected to play, not at 100%. Get both teams out of the bye, relatively healthy. Zay Jones still out for Jacksonville, which is kind of an issue. Normally it wouldn't be, but I don't like the depth of Jacksonville's receiving core. So Zay Jones not being there, to me, is actually a factor. Basically, Tim Jones and Jamal Agnew get more snaps, which ain't great. But with this game in particular, I'm interested to see if the Jacksonville defense is for real. Because so far, so good this year. But we could point to quality of competition and say, you know what? It's been pretty easy. They did hold the KC offense to way lower than season totals earlier in the year. See what they can do here against San Fran off a bye. Jacksonville plays a lot of zone. They play a lot of cover 3. They're top 5 in the league in playing zone and cover 3. Statistically speaking, Brock Purdy's EPA and success rates both drop against those types of defenses. However, I will say they're still well above league average. San Fran's offense, though, to me, has been more unlucky than anything. I don't want to say just unlucky because Purdy's been turning the ball over at a pretty large clip, a very high clip. But this past run, this losing streak that they've had, especially the last 2 games, Purdy's success rate has been very high in those games. He's just turned the ball over, and his EPA has been low. So we'll see if that balances out over time. Is Debo playing? Yes. He's in. Another game where I've seen split opinions. What's going on with San Fran's D? I honestly don't know. They've given up a lot of explosive plays recently. Since week 7, they have the second highest rate of giving up explosive plays in the NFL. It's very unusual for this 49ers defense because week 1 to 6, they were the lowest rate of explosive plays in the league. So it's been one extreme to the other. Can Jacksonville get explosive plays? Honestly, I'm not sure. If we look at Trevor Lawrence this year, he's a quarterback that gets the ball out of his hands quickly. It's the second fastest time to throw in the NFL, 2.3 seconds from the snap. That's what they've prioritized this year, getting the ball out of his hands quickly. I mentioned this on the Wednesday Best Bet show. That doesn't lend itself to explosive plays. That's like a dink and dunk type of offense. In my opinion, that's not how you beat the 49ers. So we'll see. One more thing with the coverages that 49ers play. They play a lot of cover 4, 23%. That's a top 5 rate in the league. It's very unusual to see teams play that often. And if you look at neutral game states, they do mix it in a lot as well. Trevor Lawrence has a 51% success rate or more against every single defensive scheme, except for cover 4, where he falls to 43%. So something to keep an eye on there as well. I know the early service play releases in the week were San Fran, and it kind of just hung out in this range. And I think it's fine there. At the 3, I'd be more likely to still play San Francisco than I would Jacksonville. But nothing in this game would surprise me. New Orleans and Minnesota. Okay, market up to 3 here in most spots. -3, -102 at Pinnacle. Total of 41. Been bet down since I gave this as my best bet on the Wednesday show. There's still enough room here to play this. I'm just looking really quickly at what my stake size is going to be in this game. So for those of you who missed the boat early, you didn't miss much. It's not like it was a massive line move one way or another. But I'm going to play under 41 -108 for $65 base. So basically $70 to win 65 on this game. I'll talk about the side as well. I think there's a good matchup for the Saints overall. I just don't want to lay the 3 and need the Saints to win by 4, basically. But let's put that Josh Dobbs game into context last week. Got the win. Super impressive. Okay. For a guy that got traded midweek, didn't know a lot of the plays, whatever. Ultimately, got the dub. Took a bad safety in that game. He fumbled in his own territory, which the defense came through and held. Very low average depth of target. Didn't really have a good game across the board. What really was noticeable, especially watching the game back against Atlanta, and it's the same thing I picked up on watching the game live, is he was very good when the play broke down. He scrambled to his right a lot, made some Atlanta defenders miss tackles. This is all on tape now. Remember, Falcons went into last week's game preparing for Jaren Hall, not for Josh Dobbs. The likelihood they were going to see Dobbs was extremely low. Wide receiver injuries are a problem. Justin Jefferson's not playing. I believe KJ Osborne, although not officially ruled out, did not pass concussion protocol. That's a problem because now you have Marshawn Lattimore on Jordan Addison, and you don't have a lot of remaining depth in the Minnesota receiving corps. You have Brandon Powell, N'Keal Harry, Tristan Jackson, not household names, obviously. Osborne officially ruled out. Thank you, P. Dons. Appreciate that. So that's a problem. Even bigger problem for me. Minnesota is very unlikely to be able to run the ball in this game. Alexander Madison has been bad this year. The Vikings as a whole have the 6th worst EPA running the ball in the entire league. Cam Akers done for the year. The Minnesota run concepts don't really play well into how the Saints defend the run. This is a problem. Remember what happened to Josh Dobbs in Arizona when James Conner got hurt and they could no longer run the ball? Performance right off a cliff. I really think the Saints defense has a great matchup here and is going to limit Minnesota offensively today. Now, this offensive resurgence from the Saints, could talk about that a little bit more. The Saints rebounded last week. They've been much better in the red zone specifically. They've run Taysom Hill a lot more. That's worked out. But if you look at recent weeks, so many of their points have come off of turnovers. I'm not convinced that they are going to consistently just be able to methodically work downfield. It's a tough matchup for Carr. Minnesota mixes in a ton of cover 2, second highest rate of cover 2 in the entire league. Derek Carr this season against cover 2, 31% success rate. There's only one quarterback worse against cover 2. It's been Baker Mayfield. His EPA per play versus cover 2 is by far worse than any other type of defense. Under in the game, overall, strong lean to New Orleans. Appreciate you, Chris. Bad takes. People pay you to do this. Actually, no, they don't. I don't pay myself a salary. I make all my money from betting, actually. So people don't pay me to do it. I just do this because I enjoy it. But appreciate you being in here and supporting us here at Forward Progress and the Hammer. It does go a long way. Every single view helps us monetize in some capacity. As a reminder, 326 of you in the stream right now, just smash that like button down below. Take 2 seconds, hit that like. Like I said, goes a long way for us in being able to grow this at some point or another. Next game. Keep it moving here. I do see the comments in real time, people. I honestly, I just love the people who come in and are just going to like rip everything. I mean, you got to have something to do in life other than just be in like someone else's stream at 11:30 on a Sunday morning. Like, I honestly feel bad for people. I do. Hope you get the help that you need, Chris. Honestly, I hope you do. All right. Green Bay and Pittsburgh. Okay, Suma made a good point about Pittsburgh this week. Liked them quite a bit in this matchup. I also like this matchup for Pittsburgh, but I'm very uncomfortable with these numbers and Pittsburgh needing to win by 4. There's still a 39 at Pinnacle. It is the best number in market. I am going to play under 39 for $75. I'm a little bit scared of this one because I think the Steelers' offense is sneaky underrated. Yes, I said that, but I'm going to play this for $75. Would have helped if I had it up on screen, just so you guys can see. $75 to the under. All right. Jordan Love last week. Good bounce back game against the Rams. I mean, his average depth of target, 6.7 yards. When the hell do we ever see that? Usually it's a mile downfield because he's throwing all these balls out of bounds downfield. But it was a very efficient dink and dunk type of thing against the Rams defense. I don't think that's consistently repeatable, especially when it's on tape. Jordan Love loves to turn over the ball. He's a 4.3% interception rate, third worst in the league. The only quarterbacks worse are PJ Walker and Jimmy Garoppolo. Neither of them are playing right now. Pittsburgh plays a mix of man, cover one, which is kind of like a man, and cover 3. If we look at Jordan Love this year, he's been brutal against any form of man or cover 1. Dead last EPA per play against man, dead last success rate and EPA against cover 1. This is a staple of the Pittsburgh defense, what they do really well. Now, I do think that there is some offensive upside with this Packers team because Aaron Jones is back. They have some semblance of a running game. That's mitigated a little bit by Cameron Hayward as well, who was getting mixed back into the rotation last week. But I don't have high hopes for the Green Bay offense. And that's kind of why the lean is towards Pittsburgh, but I like the under. Now, Pittsburgh's run game is improving. I don't know what's really happened there. And to be honest, I'll be like fully transparent. I haven't had enough time to look into what they've changed with their run blocking in particular, but they are getting way more yards per contact, more yards prior to contact in the running game. They're second in the NFL in the last 3 weeks in that particular measure via True Media. But I mentioned this earlier, and with the Pittsburgh offense in particular, they sucked earlier in the year. To their credit, or let's say to Kenny Pickett's, like for all the hate that he gets. If we look at his career without Deontay Johnson on the field, 186 plays, 36.6 success rate. His EPA is negative 0.123. Horrendous. 36.6 success rate, though, is what I want to focus on. Because with Deontay, 554 plays, he's got a 46% success rate. It's almost 10 percentage points better. His EPA goes to positive. So it's a massive difference with having Deontay Johnson on the field. This Green Bay secondary is in shambles. Jair Alexander dealing with the back injury. Rudy Ford, questionable. I haven't seen anything yet, but 3 times limited practice this week. Obviously, they traded Rasul Douglas. Eric Stokes, Darnell Savage are on IR. So what I think the most likely scenario is in this game is you get like an average performance from the Steelers offense where they slowly build their way to a lead. And then it's their defensive line teeing off on Jordan Love. And then playing a little bit more conservatively running the ball. That's where we're at right now in the market. For those that have access, really quickly, I'll bring it up on screen one more time with this particular game. But for those that do have access to like a -3, -115, which is, it's pretty widely available out there, I don't hate that look on the Steelers either. I don't hate that look on the Steelers at all. All right. Connor points out Jamar Chase officially active. We will see if there is any sort of buyback. Why the hell did the Tampa Bay line move so much? I promise I will get to that. And Jaylen Warren, over 33.5 rush yards, -110. Don't hate that look as well. I don't hate that look as well. All right, let's move it on. I want to get through these 1 o'clock games here. And now, speak of the devil, let's get this loaded. My internet connection's starting to slow. There we go. Tennessee and Tampa. Big line move towards Tampa yesterday. We're out to -2.5 everywhere. Total 39. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to play Tennessee on 2 separate bets here. I'm going to play +2.5, +105, and +130 money line. And I'm going to put $50 on each. So I'm going to make it known first and foremost that I am fading a very influential line move. There was a lot of money that went down on Tampa Bay yesterday. Okay? Let's get that out in the clear. So this is against a very big group in some capacity, someone who's betting a lot of money. I don't have a supreme amount of confidence in this game because of the Will Levis factor, which I don't know. And also, we don't know the state of Tampa Bay's corners just yet. Jamel Dean did get a full practice in, but he's coming off a concussion. We'll see if he can play. Carlton Davis was limited on Friday with a toe injury. I'm assuming that these guys are in the game when I'm making this bet. I cannot get here. I can't get to this. Now, what to make of Levis? I don't know. It's a small sample size. I already know some of the tendencies. He's been very good against zone. He struggled a lot against man. Tampa plays a very low rate of man defense. And guess what? If they're without Jamel Dean or Carlton Davis, they're probably going to play even less man today. So based off of his early career, he's been able to beat zone consistently. Corner issues with Tampa, that's one. Now, the biggest concern for me is how he's fared against the blitz, which has not been good so far. It's only 2 games, but looking at True Media's numbers, 29th in the NFL in EPA per dropback against the blitz in the past 2 weeks. 7th against no blitz. That's a bit concerning because Tampa blitz is at a top 5 rate in the league. But to me, the Tampa defense is just overrated. Like they're very much, a lot of times we get to like these bend but don't break type of defenses. I don't like those defenses because at some point or another they break. But the Bucs defense gives up 5.8 yards per play. It's third last in the league. Third last in the league in yards per play. But when we look at other metrics like points per game, points allowed per drive, they're right in the middle of the pack. Why is that? They're very good in the red zone. They're a good red zone defense. They've only given up touchdowns at a 34.6% clip. We're midway through the season. There's probably the likelihood that they're actually a good red zone defense is probably high. It's above average. But are they going to be an elite red zone defense when they're consistently letting teams march down the field on them? I don't know. Another thing that's a problem with the Tampa Bay defense, they give up explosive plays at a very high rate. They're dead last in the league in explosive pass percentage allowed. The one thing I know about Will Levis is he will take his shots downfield. We've already seen this through 2 games in his career. He's not scared to attack downfield. So you have a team that consistently gets exposed in the deep passing game against a young quarterback that will throw those deep passes. I think that, like, for me to get to this number, I've had to do a lot of plug and play, right? Because we can use Levis's stats for a couple games. It's not really going to tell us a lot going forwards. Carlton Davis inactive. Like, this is boosting it. So Carlton Davis is out. We don't know about Jamel Dean yet, but I imagine that he's playing if they didn't announce them at the same time. But like, for me to get to where we are here now, if I plug and play like different quarterbacks from around the league, I'm playing some of the worst quarterbacks in the league at this number because I just don't think highly of Tampa Bay. Now, there's a little bit of a shift in Tampa Bay that maybe somebody's reacting to. They're dead last in rushing success rate in the league, 29.5%. It's been a disaster. They have slowly started to increase the early down passing a little bit. So maybe you got some positive regression for the Bucs offense. They scored a lot last week, but I'm not here on this number. I love Vrabel against Bulls. I love Vrabel with extra time to prepare. He's had 9 situations of this in his life. 8-1 against the spread and straight up as well. Small samples, different teams. I get it. There's just too much here. That's leading me to believe that. Jair Alexander confirmed out, which I talked about last game. He was listed as technically doubtful, but out. All right. Let's keep it moving. Into the 4 o'clock games. Falcons and Cardinals. I'm not going to spend too much time here because I don't have a strong opinion. Market has very much settled at 2.5. Pinnacle's showing a 2. Total 43.5, which I've seen some overplay and some underplay into some accounts this week. I don't have a strong opinion here. I'm not convinced. If Atlanta could get pressure, which I'll talk about, there's some misleading numbers here, but if Atlanta could get pressure, I would really like them in this game. You have Kyler Murray coming off a very long layoff, ACL injury. The likelihood that he is going to be as mobile as he was previously is very low. Very low. You look at Kyler Murray last year, his PFF grade when he was pressured last season was 29. That was the worst mark in the league by a mile. Now, Atlanta, if you just look at pressure rate numbers, you'll see 25.9%. That's fourth best in the league. Yeah, they can generate pressure. But with Grady Jarrett out for the year, David Onyemata dealing with an ankle injury as well, I'm out on the Falcons defense. Maybe this is like too early to dismiss them, but I always thought that Jarrett injury was going to be huge for this defense. On the other side of the ball, you do get James Conner back, which that'll be a big relief because when he was on the field for the first 4 weeks of the season, the Arizona offense was 14th in success rate. He gets injured, they drop to 31st in success rate. Now, I'm not saying that's all James Conner. That's the league also figuring out Josh Dobbs as well. There's a lot that goes into it, but I don't really know what to do with this game. I feel like the line is fair. And that's it. We move on. Sergio says 335 viewers and only 136 thumbs up. Come on, guys. Sergio, I like your avatar for one. Looks like a pizza with maybe a rosé. Or is that like an Aperol Spritz or something? Maybe we got going on here. Bunch of stuff. But yeah, people, smash the like button. Takes 2 seconds. It takes 2 seconds. Mass, good point here. Kyler's not wearing a knee brace. Good sign for his mobility. Yeah. This is like what goes in. I like to play the guessing game in the NFL when I feel strongly about a guess. I don't feel strongly about this game. All right, move on. Appreciate the kind words, Ross. Very happy you're here. I do like when this reaches new people. And we get a new audience. Lions and Chargers. Okay. All the early money this week, Lions. Game day money shows for Chargers +3. Had we been doing this a little bit earlier, I probably would have locked in Chargers +3 as one of the bets. Had we also been doing this a little bit earlier, you know what? I don't think I was ever going to be in range on the over. But I think 3 was a little bit pushing it here where you now need Detroit to win by 4 to cover this. We've come quite a long ways on the Chargers. And I get it. Like, I totally understand. But when you think about, don't rip me for this. The lots has changed since then. And I'll talk about that for now. But Dallas was like a 1.5, 2-point favorite at LA. That was a month ago. But now we're seeing the Lions as bigger favorites. Things change in between for sure. The Lions got much healthier over the course of their bye week. The Chargers receiving room lost Josh Palmer as well. It's Williams and Palmer out. That's a challenge. I'm optimistic for Herbert in this matchup. I shouldn't be. I get it because the Chargers offense has been bad for a while now. But there's a couple things that I think they have working in their favor in this game. For one, if we look at Detroit's coverage rates this year, they're top 8 in the league in playing both cover 2 and quarters defenses. These are schemes that Herbert destroys and is destroyed for his entire career. He's 51.5% success against cover 2, 70% success against quarters, albeit limited sample size, but this dates back his entire career. So the Lions' defensive concepts typically play into the hands of where Herbert excels. On top of that, the Lions typically struggle to defend running backs, especially ones out of the backfield. They give up a lot of yards per target to running backs. Third last in the league. Eckler possibly can get going here. Big thing for me in this game, which is a relative unknown, is can the Chargers get pressure? Because they got a lot of pressure last week against the Jets. That was a makeshift offensive line. That was maybe Bosa being healthy, looking fully healthy. But Jared Goff is number 1 in PFF grade in the entire league when he's kept clean. So can they get pressure? I don't know. Stylistically, good matchup for Goff as well. The Chargers play a high rate of cover 6 for some reason. Very high relative to the rest of the league. Jared Goff, high success rate, high EPA per play against that defense. Where Goff has struggled has been cover 2. Chargers play it at a well below average rate this season. Tough game. Kind of wish the 3s were still there. I personally didn't bet any 3 myself. It was gone. But that's it. Country roads, man. Not only do the Germans love Sweet Caroline, but Country Roads is an absolute banger as well. Absolute banger. Brandon points out Trent Williams is active. This was expected, not new information. He is not playing at 100% today as well. It's a good question. Is this Goff's first return to LA? I don't know. My memory's not good enough. I'm getting old. I'm starting to forget things. Let's move on. Giants and Cowboys. See if we could get a line for this game. Not that it's well, you know what? Everything matters. 17.5. We move through the fake key number of 17. I know a lot of people will think, 17, you got to capture that number. I guess technically you do in a game like this. 38.5 or 39 is the total. Not going to spend a lot of time here. See that symbol right there for all the new ones watching. I'm a Cowboys fan. Try to break this down as impartially as possible, as I do with every Cowboys game. Bettor first, Cowboy fan second, although sometimes it does reverse. Giants offense, like what more is there to say? When these teams played in week 1, the Giants averaged 2.6 yards per play, 34% success rate. That's 1 for the Dallas defense. Since then, the Giants have faced the second easiest schedule of opposing defenses in terms of success rate. They faced the Cardinals. They faced the Dolphins, the Bills, the Commanders, the Raiders. They still can't score. And now you get Tommy DeVito, who just might be the worst quarterback I've ever seen in my life. The first time Tommy DeVito came into the game, Brian Daboll just refused to throw the ball with him. It's like, we're going to run. We're just going to run the ball. Be a little bit scary if you're a Dallas backer and you get Matt Barkley in the second half somehow, which I can't even believe I'm saying that. It's scary that you might get Matt Barkley, but that might be a difference maker. Maybe the Giants defense can hold them in the game. The one thing about Dak Prescott, he kills man defense. He kills the blitz. This is what he does. The Giants play the second highest rate of man. Dak destroys man. 0.57 EPA per play this season against man. Giants' second highest rate of blitz, 40%. There's only 2 quarterbacks with a better PFF grade against the blitz this year. It's Josh Allen and Tua. I don't know. The only issue with games like this is like, there's so many late, you don't see this in the NFL. Like, there's so many late game scenarios that don't matter anymore here, right? Ultimately, I think Dallas is going to kill them. I just don't want to lay 17.5. Don't want to lay 17.5. All right, let's keep it moving. Commanders and Seahawks. Seabags, as some would call them. Okay. We have seen some 5.5s in market now. Pinnacle down to -6 plus 100. Total, after being bet up earlier in the week, has come down a little bit as well. I'm going to go ahead and play the Seahawks -6 plus 100 for a standard unit. Once again, I must point out to everyone out there that this play has been resisted by market. My number in the game is much closer to 7. It's just short of 7. I've seen this deemed a pros versus Joes game on Twitter. So that would indicate to me that the public bettors like the Seahawks. Pros versus Joes. I do this for a living too. Maybe not on Sunday mornings, but I do this for a living. There's lots of pros that like both sides of the game, but I get it. Public likes one side. Line moves the other way. Reverse line movement, all that stuff, all that nonsense. You know my opinion on that by now. I don't like this matchup for Washington at all. I don't. They're changing up their offense a little bit. And maybe that's where the season-long numbers might lead me astray a little bit. Because they got Sam Howell running a lot of this 3-step drop, get the ball out of his hands really quickly. Much more than they did earlier in the year. They were on pace, still is, to set a record in the amount of sacks taken over the course of a year. And they're like, we got to figure this out. Can't just have this guy dropping back 5 steps, 7 steps. Like, it's not going to happen. So they've changed that a little bit. But even throughout the change, Sam Howell has really struggled against zone. His EPA per play against zone on the season as a whole is the 5th worst mark in the entire league. The only 4 quarterbacks worse: Mac Jones, Josh Dobbs, Bryce Young, Zach Wilson. The Seattle Seahawks play the highest rate of zone in the entire league, almost 84%. By a large margin. So Howell's got to beat a defense that he struggled against. Of that zone, Seattle mostly plays cover 3. This is where Howell's been the worst. 39.7% success. Negative 0.27 EPA per play. Seahawks run defense has held up for the large majority of the year. I don't see a very good path to success for Washington's offense. Now, someone might say to me, well, that's fine, Rob. Washington's defense or Seattle's offense hasn't been that great. And that's true. Can Geno get it together? I did mention earlier in the week, okay, Baltimore and Cleveland, back-to-back weeks. How's Geno going to look? Someone said, well, what happened against Arizona then? That's fair. They only scored 20 points against Arizona the week prior. But they faced 2 very good defenses in a row, both who primarily play, or let's say play a high rate of man coverage, where Geno struggles. Commanders traded away Montez Sweat and Chase Young last week. No one wanted to bet them. I was the one who wanted to bet them against the New England Patriots. Montez Sweat and Chase Young matter. They don't matter so much against the Patriots because the Patriots can't do anything on offense. They got pressure on just 21% of Mac Jones dropbacks last week. That's the lowest of any game this season for Washington. They already struggle to defend anything, and now they're going to struggle with a pass rush. This is the game for me. If Geno can't get it together, then we got to get off this train. But he has played very well against bad defenses for the majority of his career. That's what he's done. I personally think Seattle's just a little bit undervalued as well. One other interesting point about Seattle, I think Cleve TA brought it up, and it's a really great point. If you look at Seattle's offense this season, they're 6th best in early down EPA, but they're 28th best in late down EPA. 6th to 28th. If you look at the defense, the Seahawks defense is 8th best in early down EPA, 30th in late down. As a whole, they're 2nd in the NFL in net early down EPA, but 31st on late downs. Typically speaking, the early down EPA is way more predictive of a team's success going forwards than late downs. which is a lot more luck driven. I'm on the Seahawks. Paint the square right in the middle of my forehead today. Maybe I'll paint one for forward progress tonight at 8 p.m. But I see this as a game that has major blowout potential in favor of the Seattle Seahawks. Jets and Raiders is our Sunday night football game. A little bit of Jets money has come in. Jets favored now. Got down to pick earlier in the week. This is our Sunday night football. Don't ask me how, but it is our Sunday night football tonight. -1, -109 is a half unit play. $50 on the New York Jets. Let's put Aiden O'Connell's game last week into perspective. Fine against the Giants. Did what he had to do. I'm not here to slag it. Ras just released the Jets. There we go. I know Chernoff was talking about it a little bit this week. I honestly agree with his handicap on the game, like, a lot. For me, Aiden O'Connell very much showed the elements of a game manager last week. 34% of his throws went past the sticks. If we look at the season as a whole, including his previous game, that's what he does. He's very conservative. There's only 2 quarterbacks that throw past the sticks less in the entire league. One is Tyson Bagent. The other one is Daniel Jones. Now, maybe this Raiders team is just going to be different under a new coaching staff. That's a possibility. I saw Devontae Adams sitting on the sideline at an NBA game. He's talking to the ref. He said things are going to be different. Team might be happy. The problem is the team just doesn't have a lot of talent. It's crazy for me to say this, but the Jets defense might be underrated. They might be. Because they've had 10 drives start in their own territory due to turnovers. And they've been able to hold on those as well. I don't know how Las Vegas is moving the ball here. Their left tackle, Colton Miller, is out with a shoulder injury as well. It just comes down to, can the Jets offense do anything? And I totally understand the rationale of why someone would say, no, they can't. I get that. It's ugly. They couldn't move the ball in the Chargers defense last week. Their offense literally lost them the game. But everyone, and I want to stress everyone, has been able, in some capacity, with the exception of the Giants last week, who had DeVito come in mid-game, has been able to move the ball on the Raiders defense. They just are, they are asking you to do this. They let you run the ball. They let you throw underneath. They're just preventing the downfield shots. Jets have Bryce Hall. The Raiders don't defend the run well. Dead last in the league in success rate. That should be enough for the Jets to at least do something offensively. Something. That's the handicap for the Jets. Underlook. Let's see what I have here for the game. 36 to me is fair. 36 is fair. That's a good comment. Fade any team that smokes cigars in the locker room after beating the Giants. Honestly, that's where we're at right now. That's where we're at right now. All right. Really quickly to Monday Night Football, just so that people have a general idea. And again, anyone that consumes content that I do over the course of the week, you already know that I've made the case for Denver at one point or another. Been bet down to 7. Honestly, I think 7 might still be playable for a small play. It's just kind of on the borderline. It's going to be a little bit windy in Buffalo tomorrow night. Condenses the game a little bit more. But to me, this is just a matter of the health of these teams. Like, Denver is night and day different than what they were earlier in the year when they were missing a lot of players in the front seven. It was disastrous for them. Buffalo, on the other hand, they can't buy a break. Already without Daquan Jones, Matt Milano, Trey White. They lose Christian Benford this week. Micah Hyde is out with a stinger. Terrell Bernard, middle linebacker, taking over in the middle of that defense, dealing with a concussion. Like, I know people are just keep trying to time the market on the Bills. And I do think at some point or another, there will be a time to bet them. But we're just getting these prices to fade them. And until they show me something, I don't know how we don't continue to do this. Like every single week is the buy spot for the Bills, right? So, they're at their low point. It just gets lower and lower for them. The defense can't stop anything. And it's personnel related for sure. But I can't get there. Now 7.5s are gone out of market. I think 7 still has some value. It's nothing crazy, but certainly think that can be played as well. Quick review of picks for today. Taking Tennessee, and I've split it on the money line and on the spread against Tampa Bay. Played the under in New Orleans, Minnesota. Played the under Green Bay, Pittsburgh. Seattle, -6 plus 100. And the Jets. The bet amounts are always listed as well, which are important. Looking back to last week, took a small loss. Thank you, Jets. Cincy, again. Buffalo getting steamed at game time. I don't understand where that's coming from personally, but I've been wrong many times before, and I will continue to be wrong many times before. Would I play Jacksonville +4 -105? Yes, I would. I didn't get around to much in terms of props this weekend. Had a busy weekend this week, but here, maybe let's bring something up on screen and let's try to find something that makes sense to me. I like overs I think Tennessee's offense is good today, and I like the possibility of a downfield shot for Tennessee. Treylon Burks is out. You know what? Maybe we go back to the well because he got targeted quite a bit. We've got 2 Kyle Phillips here. One's misspelled. Kyle Phillips in the TD market. First TD, deep shot, 25-1. What's he for any time? Could get him in the 6-1 range. I don't mind that as a look. Kyle Phillips' snap counts have been increasing quite a bit. So that's one there that I think is maybe worthwhile. Where else do I like? Honestly, it's a little bit it's not the greatest price probably, but Austin Eckler, what's he for any time? I don't want the -140. 581 Pinnacle's the best price in market. I don't hate Eckler as a look. I really think that he's going to get a lot of opportunity today. And these are all going to be tied to my bets, right? But Seattle as well, with Lockett banged up in this game. Do I want to go JSN though? I kind of want to go JSN. Depends on the price as well. Let's look anytime touchdown first. It's not enough. It really isn't enough. Now that I said it, it's going to happen, but I don't think that price is good enough. But those are the guys that I would target. Jake, I'm a big Jake Bobo fan. I don't have the guitar in the room, or else I would take you out on country roads or Sweet Caroline or something like that. It's in the other room. I do have a new presence in the room on my left here. It's been really quiet, but Tortellini has moved into my office temporarily. He may make some appearances on stream going forwards. He may. See if he can outpick me as well. Appreciate everyone who tuned in here. on another edition of Pizza Buffet. Please, if you found any value in this content and you watch right till the end, which a lot of you do every single week, just smash that like button down below. Takes literally 2 seconds for you to do, goes a long way. And if you're watching this after the fact, which people do as well, 2 seconds, smash that like. Second thing, if you're not subbed here on Forward Progress, sub on Forward Progress. If you want notifications, you can turn them on. You get notified whenever we do a live video. If you don't turn them on. And it's not invasive at all. So hit that sub button. Last thing, I'm back here tonight, 8 p.m. Eastern time. A lot of you know the drill by now, but for those of you that don't, right at the top of this stream every single week, I talk about the importance of finding early line value. What I'm going to do tonight and every week, 8 p.m. Eastern time on Sundays with Clive Bixby, we're going to pull up Pinnacle odds screen as the odds get posted on Sunday night in real time, and we are going to give our first impressions of every single game. Are we going to beat every single line? No, most definitely not. Are we going to beat the majority of them? Probably yes, because it's actually not that hard to do. And you guys can gain some insight into the process as well just by checking out that stream. So really appreciate everyone. I'm back here, 8 p.m. Eastern time tonight. This has been another edition of the Pizza Buffet on Forward Progress, powered by the Hammer Betting Network and Pinnacle Sportsbook. Unless you're opposite of me, I can't wish you good luck on your bets today. If you're with me, good luck on your bets. If you're opposite, good luck on the rest of your bets and not the ones where you're opposite. I'll see everyone back here, 8 p.m. Eastern time tonight. Peace out.